It is very hard to choose your words after a big tragedy like what happened in New Zealand. And it is not an easy topic to address. It is associated with so many or so much emotions and sometimes anxiety. Tons of people from my own here community, thousands and thousands of miles ago, were so moved by the incident of New Zealand and expressed a high level of stress. And even sometimes I noticed some of them reached to the level of panic, of basically saying and thinking of things which is very unreasonable and unlikely to happen, and as if they are under an immediate threat. That I had to spend a good amount of time talking to several individuals, which is, I do believe that's normal, that some people will react such way. But in regardless, we are as one ummah. It's not about the fear of death. It's not about the fear of a terrorist attack. We as one ummah, that when some part of us get hurt, the rest of the ummah will respond to that. That's something I deeply believe in. But also this incident made me ask myself, is that really the thing that made us respond this way to this incident? Because as you all know, there's many people died in Syria just a few years and months. There is a massacre in Central Africa. There is a massacre in many places in the world. So if that's what we're feeling today, it's because we are one ummah and we feel the pain and the bleeding of our brothers. And when somebody died unfairly in Palestine, I feel the pain in my heart and I feel that in my life and impacted my life today. Or it is again centering about ourselves. It's really not about the care of the ummah, and it as much as it is the fear for my own life, the fear for my own self, the fear for my own family, because that's something I can relate to. I live in similar environment, in a Western atmosphere. I have the same type of threat that they have, which is the rise of the extreme right-wing Islamophobes. And that's a question that I think you should reflect upon. It's not a bad thing to fear about your own life. Don't misunderstand me. It's not a bad thing to fear about yourself. It's not a wrong thing to be cautious. It's not something you should feel guilty about. It's just to get that very serious and to feel the threat about your own life and your family and your business. That's not my point. But my point is, it is just, we have to put it in the right frame. Because also, it is as important about your own life is to feel the importance and the sanction and the sanctuary and the value of other people's life. So you can, for a few maybe hours or days, you can relate to those who are living constantly in such fear, who happen to be living in Palestine today, or happen to be living in Syria, happen to be living in Iraq, happen to be living in so many places in the world. Can you imagine how type of life that they have? That they have a real threat every single day in their life about their life and how and their homes and their businesses and their family. In such climate, Islam in such climate, how basically can we deal with such climate as a community? It's a big question that I think it is worth investing a little bit of time of reflecting upon. Because this is affecting us, affecting our family, affecting our community. And when I think about the guidance, I always say, every Friday almost, وَخَيْرُ الْهَدْيِ هَدْيِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. The best of guidance are the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm going to ask the young guys in the back there, in the corner, Umar Basyouni. Omar and your group, can you come forward? Hey guys, some of the adults there, come on, Don't sit next to each other playing while making salah or giving khutbah. Okay, no, all the way up. You guys young, all the way. Nobody against the wall. All the way up in the front. You then, yes, all the way up. Okay, we have a dismiss from school early today, so. So here we cite that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam guide us in dealing with such climate when it's so stressed. There is something caught my attention in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In a time where there is a battle in the battlefield, whereas the risk is so high for people's life, properties, you name it. You find in Sahih al-Bukhari, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يجعل الجيش يتقدم ثم يسابق عائشة فيسبقها ويقول هذه بتلك. He basically let the army go ahead, then he will race with Aisha radiallahu anha. And he said, now we are equal, because long time ago, we raced together and you beat me. You know, you were faster than me. And now my turn, I was able to win. So now we are equal. You know, with all what you think of in the battlefield and what can happen to them next day, but he found a time to have that, you know, interesting thing that he did, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Adam, after eating from the tree, expelled from Jannah, sent down to earth, with all what you think associated with that, لِتَشْقَى, يعني you will be in hardship, and all this, استمتع بالحياة. He enjoyed life on earth. He had children, he had basically established society and community and moved on in his life. ضحك وبكى. He laughed and he cried. Ibrahim, with all what he dealt with in Iraq and the king of Babylon, and basically after he was thrown in fire and Allah saved him from it, he will be leaving Iraq after what? 80 years, some of the historians said. 80 years or something like that, 80 plus years. After all these years, not a single person became a Muslim. Except he left with his wife and his nephew, Lut, which is a prophet. That's it. He left Iraq with his wife to Egypt, and you know the story of what happened in Egypt. Then he ended up leaving his wife or the mother of his child in Mecca, Hajar, and all this life. But you see that he not at a single point, he stopped. He kept moving and moving and moving and moving. Yusuf alayhi salam, after the darkness of the well and the darkness of the prison, departed, being basically separated from his beloved father, from his family, being in slavery for years, and all these things that happened to him in his life. You know what? He still have the calmness, he had the smile, he had the time to go to distribute food to the prisoners where he was present, and he was able to make that basically ask when he got the chance to be so special, to be spoiled, to get to relax after all these years of hardship, when the king said, أَسْتَخْلِصْهُ لِنَفْسِي, I will make him just my body. You know, with the king, he doesn't need to do anything. He became the king's body. You know, his best friend. He said, no, اجعلني على خزائن الأرض. I'm not trusting, I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to work. I'm willing to use my position, being near you, and the trust that you have in me to help the people of Egypt. Musa, from his childhood, can you imagine the threat, the level of stress, the level of calamities and hardship that he had to go through? The moment he was born, his life was under threat. Being thrown in river, picked by his enemy, raised in the palace of Pharaoh, and with all this, and you know the story of Musa alayhi salam, no need to go into details. I left his Egypt scared, terrified, and in the first time, and when he went far away and across the desert of Sinai, he found those two young girls. need help, and he volunteered his service. He found a time to get married and to make a family and to move on in his life. Today, our ummah at large, and our community specifically, witnessing so many changes, so many difficult times from within and from outside. A pressure from outside for people who care less about the interest of the Muslim ummah. And from inside, where people have so much hate, unfortunately, toward their own people. We as a community today, we have challenges from within and challenges from outside. Pressure from outside and weakness from inside. When we look at the world around us, wherever you look, even the only place down under, which is we're not used to look, we have a problem. When we look to the east or to the west or north or south, you will see challenges where we're going as Muslims. I don't think I ever heard in my lifetime and in the history that I read that many Muslims been dislocated from their countries and homeland. That many civil wars going on inside the Muslim world like what I hear today. To the extent that the only case I still remember that now nobody talk about are the Palestinians who've been basically located from their land and who don't want to come back to their land. Their cases was forgotten because of there's so many other people have the same problem almost. Today, we see even politically, when you took the political situation in the Muslim world, not on Sidad, as of that, basically some people will look at it as there is no hope. Dictatorship, the voice of freedom, the voice of life which have dignity is almost vanishing from societies. Economy, not doing very well. People are kind of despair. They don't see the light in the end of the tunnel. As someone said, even the light that they see in the end of the tunnel, most likely they think it's the train. So there is no any kind of no hope. When you live in a life like that, when you see that our youth are shocked by the leaders of the countries and the leader of the society, when they don't know how to explain why our ummah is like this, where is our scholars, where is our leaders, where are these beautiful principles, beautiful things that you keep telling us, where is human rights? Where's the thing that we raised in America, hearing it every day, that we care about people, that people are created equal, the freedom, that we stand and defend, the human rights. Where is the law? When we see this ugly reality of our politics inside the country today, with the presidency of our President Trump, and the rise of the Islamophobes and the extreme or the right wing, when we don't see voices that even willing to stand up and to defend their best friend who passed away few months back, when we don't see voices of moderate, it has become so hard. When you see people attack so badly just because they talk common sense about that this country should come first before other foreign countries, no matter what these foreign countries are and how close they are to our country. It is something make a lot of people wonder what is going on. How many youth today, they ask the question, how do we balance the loyalty and love we may have for this country and our disappointed with it government, basically with the rise of the Islamophobe, with the oppression that we see? How can we address the growing popular trend of liberal Muslims who are asking us as Muslims to drop principle, to compromise our religion, discounted the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ by the day? Our youth don't know where to go. Even when we hear or we saw at one point, there is some people regardless you agree or you disagree, regardless how good or bad they have done in the Muslim world, which is we call it يعني الإسلام أو الأحزاب الإسلامية, the Islamic movements or basically who Muslims activists in politics. It now became completely branded as a terrorist organization. And I'm open to say, like Al-Ikhwan Muslimin. And it's not about Al-Ikhwan Muslimin, it's not about Muslim Brotherhood. But it is the oldest, the biggest, the most influential, you like it or not, that's the reality of all the Islamic movements in the region. I never was part of it. I do have my reservations like many others, but also I know that there is so much khair and good and hope that we can get when we open the floor for everybody to participate. And they prove themselves. If they do good job, people elect them. If they do bad job, people replace them. When we see that these kind of things happening today and these basically voices are crushed, our youth in our ummah today and our people today wonder where's the solution. When I see that we're living in a time where so many of us have a very narrow vision, have so much fear from any new things, that to the extent some of the even shuyukh and fuqaha and ulama not willing to address with open-minded, with courage, issues that are very new and very sensitive. When we see, when people claim religiosity, they turn to terrorists, where they make takfir and they, kill and use weapons to change reality, and thinking that killing and blood will change the reality that we live in. I do believe the worst of all this is when we lose hope in real change. When we lose hope that we can live a good life, a peaceful life. When we find that people are so close to give up their principles and their beliefs, that's so scary. That you're willing to give up things that since you're born, you're basically practicing and believing in. It's so scary when we see a generation of people today, they don't trust anyone. They don't trust anything. Even the trust that it was put in some religious authorities is not there anymore. The trust and the respect that was taken for granted is shaken. And I do believe, I'm not by nature to be negative. I'm not trying to paint a very gloomy look because nothing new anyway, I'm saying. But each one of these areas deserve to be addressed by itself. And there is cause and effects and solutions for each part of it. But what I want to leave you with today, then I want to say the least we can do, that we make sure that we are in this particular time so close and so near to our young generations, to the young men and women around us, in your home or in your masjid or in your community or in your society. They are the real assets that we have, and we have to invest in more and more. I can't emphasize enough in the importance today of trebling, not doubling, trebling your support to any organization who take care and empower and teach and educate and protect the youth through an education system like schools and Islamic schools, or through activities that are taking place in centers and masajid, through social works and political area. That's so essential today as we see all these things happening around us. If you're a young man listening to me today, I ask you not to be alone. Because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُ الذِّئْبُ مِنَ الْغَنَمِ الْقَاسِيَةِ. The wolf hunt the sheep that it by itself. Come closer to the masjids, to the community. Be part of the community. It is a time for us to come together, to listen to each other, listen to each other's pain, concerns, criticism, listen to each other, about our dreams. We talk to each other about our dreams, our hopes, and how can we achieve them. Let's show one another love, support, care in a time where we feel that these are very hard things to get. Our ummah have been through more difficult times. Our ummah is bigger than one generation and much larger than one country or one community. Our deen is much older than one ideology or one extreme group. Our truth is much stronger than any Islamophobes or any terrorist attack or any dictators or an oppressive regimes. The solution is not by basically giving up hope and live in sadness. ما رأيت الحزن في القرآن إلا مذموما. Never ever come across sadness in the Quran and the Sunnah unless it was criticized in a negative way. Because sadness is just strip you from the ability to move. It's paralyze you. You know, the solution is not to be sad and to be depressed and to be down. No. The solution is to shake this off and to conquer that sadness and that fear with actions. Even if it's small steps. Even if it is as simple as you go pray 2 rak'ah and you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with heart full of yaqeen. And don't tell me, oh, until when we make dua, we make dua, we make dua. Ya akhi, if this is the only thing you can do, do it. If you can do something more than dua, do it as well. But sometimes that's what the best you can do. Maybe the best you can do, you can impress your children and make sure that they become tomorrow good people in society. Maybe the thing that you can do, you can basically organize some events or talk about, some of these problems that locally that you have solutions for it. What is more important, what is very important for me is not to live by yourself, not to stay away from the society, but to come closer to it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أن يحمينا وإياكم وأن يقينا وإياكم شر الفتن إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه أقول ما سمعتم فاستغفروا الله لي ولكم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد. Remember, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz told his son something very interesting. He said, son, إنما أفسده الدهر في سنين لا يصلح في ليلة. The corruption that was built over decades cannot be solved overnight, cannot be changed overnight. Muhammad ﷺ didn't do that. It took him years and years and years to make change. Remember, it is so essential أن تنفك بشعورك عن الأزمة. It is that you feel the problem, but you don't need to live the problem. And I feel the pain of others, but I don't need to live that pain. I know the challenge, but I need to live that. And I'm not putting my head in the sand. No, I know how much it hurts for somebody to lose his family. But I don't need to be, I have every excuse for someone who lost his son yesterday or last week to be so down, so hard to stand up. But you didn't. You don't need to basically to be like that. What you need to do to stand up your feet, because that person needs to show you, to see your strength. If somebody around you in hardship, he needs to see strong people around him. So that person can stand up in his feet. Remember, وَمَا نُؤَخِّرُهُ إِلَّا لِأَجَلٍ مَعْدُودٍ. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's seeing everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things according to an infinite wisdom. All what you need to do your role, your part, and you leave the rest for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be optimistic, because optimism is very important today. Don't let your emotions take over your life. And in this process or in this status, you basically forget reasoning. That's not a right way. And if it's okay for individuals, not okay for the community leader to be like that. Don't, again, don't just be, forget reasoning and use logic and don't let just strong emotions take over your life and thinking. Many community members shared with me great idea about and points about the security of the masjid. And I wrote for all the community members something about that, so I don't need to go over it again and again. But what happened in New Zealand make us take security issues serious. Like, I know sometimes people not comfortable when I say, please don't have a chair next to the exit and sit on a chair next to the exit. People get a little bit of, feel that this is kind of me. But you know what? That's a security hazard. Please don't block the road. Like there's 2 cars, Mercedes black cars, blocking the way as I'm coming in. They are basically, you see how narrow the street is. And they are parking their cars on the right side next to our landscape guy. You know what? If there is a rush to get out, your cars will be a big, big hazard for us. You want to talk about how you respond to this? And instead of, there is the small steps make you survive. One of the biggest problems in New Zealand was that the exit door was blocked. So there are some small things that we care a lot about. Sometimes you don't pay attention to it, but we do care. And the Muslim, alhamdulillah, on a regular basis before this incident, we got police come to basically inspect our security system, cameras, alarms. That's very expensive, costly. We don't have a cheap type of alarm, system to have. We are generous when it comes to security, and we take this seriously. And even, inshallah, you will see more presence of security in the following weeks simple reason, because incident like this can inspire other crazy people to do things, even though the moment that these things happen, and that's a credit I have to give it when credit is due, to the FBI, the Office of Houston, and to the Homeland Security, that in a matter of minutes, I get alert on my phone immediately telling me, you know what, there is no any indication of any threat to the Muslim community here in Houston. Monitoring this very well, but we don't have any indication, but we highly recommend to be cautious. These are numbers. You can contact us immediately. Share this with leaders of your community. And that didn't come to me only, it came to many of the community leaders. And that's a good thing. Your security and your safety is very serious business for us. And security and safety is not only about, that's why we don't take it emotional. I care more about fire hazard than an active shooting. And let me, these 3 words before I get down. In any case of active shooting, in any case, simple steps. It's not a rocket science. People think we need training, hours and hours. You do, especially the leader of the community do. But for an active person on this masjid, in any big gathering place, 3 things to remember. You fly, you run as fast as you can from any exit you see. That's number 1. Number 2, barricade. If you can protect yourself and lock a place, basically, barricade is not to come as a group in a corner of a masjid. Barricade, it means you go and you lock the door so nobody can get into the place. You protect yourself. Number 3, fight. And that's one of the difference between fire drill and active shooting. In active shooting, if you can't run and you cannot protect yourself, you fight. 1 will die, 2 will die, 3 will die, but that ugly guy will be caught. A Somalian community, kids playing in the basketball court. And the guy got mad at them and he pulled the gun on them. None of them run. He doesn't know that he's messing with the Somalis. He said, wait, you guys crazy? I thought you guys were going to run. He said, no, I'm not going to run. Aren't you afraid to get killed? He said, yeah, you might kill one, two of us, but we will cut you pieces. The rest of us will cut you, will make you die the worst death you can ever think of. Then he put his gun down and said, you guys crazy, and he left. Yeah, because in a case like this, you have to fight. So that's just a thing that, I'm pleased people saying about bringing guns to the masjids and stuff like that. I never put restrictions in carrying, because I think you're right as an American to bear a gun. But make sure if you carry one to be licensed. Number two, if you carry one that you know how to handle it, because I don't want you to hurt yourself or to hurt your family or to hurt someone, but at your personal capacity and your personal choice, it's up to you. But I promise you, inshallah, in the few weeks to come, you will make sure that, unless we have any kind of threat level high, we'll always take that issue of security very, very serious. And I really appreciate all the feedback I got. And at the end of the day, we have to pray always to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. Because one of the real meaning of protection is the dua in the morning and the night adhkar that we do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, protect our family, protect our countries, protect our homes and our businesses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma shfi kulla mareed. اللهم أنزل شفاءك وعافيتك على كل مريض اللهم اشف موتانا اللهم ارحم موتانا اللهم ارحم موتانا اللهم ارحم موتانا اللهم يا رب السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اغفر لإخواننا الذين ماتوا في هذا الحادث الأليم في نيوزيلندا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. I ask Allah to forgive those brothers and sisters who died in New Zealand and those who died all over the world. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring an ease and to shower us and the family of the victims with His mercy. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us as a ummah. And brothers and sisters, just reflect about the outcome of what happened. How much people know about Islam, interested in Islam, and turn to this is a very positive outcome. لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. It's bad in itself, but the outcome will always be a great. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless that effort and to make that a means and a turning point in our life. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وآله وقوموا للصلاة.